Now the Fuji menu system isn't the best. Anyway, I mean, coming from Nikon as I did a few years ago, hang on, my daughter is cooking her tea and I think she's just burnt the house down. Hang on a second.
Cardinal Fang! Fetch the comfy chair.
Yes, that's right. Pull up your comfy chair, grab a coffee, sit down and watch.
During the meanwhilest... No.
Hello, it's the Terrible Terrier, Dexter and me, back on your screens for one week only before we take a short break until the end of this month. Give you a break from us. And today's video is one that I've been looking forward to making for some time actually, and it's between the new to me Fujifilm X-E1 and my new ish Fujifilm X-T4. Now I've been looking forward to making this for some time because I've shot with an X-T20, an X-T2, an X-T3 and an X-T4, so Fuji's second and third generation sensors and their second, third and fourth generation processing engine, but I've never used one of their first generation cameras. Now there was this one, the X-E1, there was the X-T1, the X-T10 and the X Pro one, maybe something like the X-A10, I'm not sure, that used this sensor, but anyway, it's a sensor that is much loved by the people who shot with it. Some people swear by it and say they'll never shoot with anything else, and it is much loved. So I wanted to see really what all the fuss is about. Is it as good as people make out to be and rave about? Well, we'll find out, won't we? Some practicalities aside first, and what I'll do now, I'll pop up a little comparison chart for you to see some of what I think are the most important, well, to me anyway, criteria when looking at a camera. I'm not going to go through all the specs, so you can find those on any sort of website. But practicalities in use, the cameras are very, very different to use. The Fuji X-E1 is much smaller and lighter. It's got a tiny little grip, but ergonomically, the camera is a joy. It's so small and light with that little grip on it, which I think is much better than the X-E4 they brought out now, which it's like a bar of soap. That thing has no grip in it at all. But it's so light. It's a joy. It's a joy to handhold. Build quality. My example is 8 or 9 years old now, but everything is still in place. The buttons are still very, very tactile and lovely to use. The dial's the same. Yes, it's a little bit slower in operation. Like when you lift your eye up to the EVF from the LCD, it can take a while then to think, oh, hang on, he's looking through the EVF, and we'll put that up. And the EVF is not as nice as the one on the X-T4. But you know, I mean, it is a much older camera, and its menu system as well is quite well, naive charm, I would say. It's obviously Fuji's first foray into mirrorless, and the menu system does leave quite a lot to be desired, and I think we are now really spoilt with our X-T3s and 4s. I know when I first switched to Fuji from Nikon, I thought the menu system was like a maze to me. It's still, even on the modern cameras now, doesn't go back to the last thing you looked at, bizarrely, but there we are. That's just Fujifilm, I guess. The X-E1 also lacks the more modern cameras' customizability. Is that a word? Like, there's only one function button that's programmable on the camera, and you can program a little thing on the back as well. But there's only two little settings that you can set. It's got a Q menu, which is going to be more handy on this camera than I've found on others because of the lack of customization. But minor issues aside, the camera is a joy to use handhold. Now I found it best with a 23mm on it, but I've got the 16mm f4 at the moment, and it's a little bit top heavy, shall we say. In operation and handling then, the X-T4 does feel like a much more heavy and substantial camera because it is much heavier and more substantial. It's obviously got a bigger grip, but all the controls seem a little bit lighter to use. Everything seems a little bit more dialed in, if you understand what I'm saying. And also the X-T4 is a lot better balanced with the larger lenses that I use in it, such as the 16mm and my 10-24. Practicalities aside though, and they don't really matter to me, to be honest, this comparison is all about the image quality. And what better place to go than down to the coast at Mumbles, pardon me, to do some seascape shooting. And yeah, let's go down there now. All right, so to test these cameras out, we've come to the best place. Well, the best place in my little world anyway. And we've been joined by some Hare Krishna people who seem to be coming down to the beach. I'll make this as quick as I can. I've set the cameras up as identically as possible. The X-T4 has got the 10-24 set up at as close to 16mm as I can get it. The XE1 has got the 16mm f4 on, shooting exactly the same subject from exactly the same position with exactly the same settings. So they're both at ISO 200, both in aperture priority, and the aperture I'm using is f7.1. Now I wanted to pick this style of photos. It'd be a good test for the camera's dynamic range. So there's no filters involved, no HDR, no shenanigans. It's just one straightforward, simple shot. That's all I'm going to take. And then what I am going to do then is actually put a filter on the front of the XE1 and the 16mm and try and take as arty as possible, as arty a photograph. Dexter has already been locked out. I'm pretty sure that he can try and get his paws in the sea. Anyway, for now, that's it from the beach here. I'm now going to take some pictures with the XE1 and enjoy myself. See you all later. Only in Swansea, really, could this happen. And only when I come out to take pictures. Still, they're really lovely, peaceful people, I hope. Either that, or they're going to come and mug us. Get my trunks on quick. Oh, it's better. I can see myself now. Right, well, we're back home after our little jaunt down to the beach, and to be honest, I wanted to spend much longer there filming and taking photographs, but as you could see, we had the Hare Krishna people to, and lovely as they were, we had them to, and their noise to contend with their drums and their jangly bells and their chanting. There was another photographer as well, queuing up to use the spot that I was in. And then to cap it all off, a load of school children turned up on a geography field trip. So, given that the audio at the Seaside was a bit ropey, and I don't know why, I plugged my my Rode Wireless Go into my phone and recorded through that. But I think the phone must have also been recording using its external microphone at the same time. I didn't think it would do that. So I need to look into that at some stage in the future, because I don't use my phone very often to film, I got to be honest. But as I was using my X-T4 to take photos with the XE1, I couldn't rely on that for filming. So perhaps it was a blessing in disguise then that I wrapped up and came home. Anyway, the shooting experience with the XE1 is a strange one. It's an old camera, so it feels old and clunky in inverted commas in use. It's not a clunky camera, but it feels first gen. There we are. But that doesn't really matter how it feels. What really matters to me is what the pictures look like. And the ones I'm going to pop up from the beach now, they are straight out of camera raw. Nothing's been touched at all, not even cropping. And I got the focal length as precise as I possibly could on my 10-24. In fact, I think I got it to 15.9mm looking at the EXIF data, so that's close enough. But all the same, the image on the XE1 looks a bit more zoomed in. Now the sensor is the same size, so I've no idea why that should be. I mean, everything in the foreground looks the same, but when you go to the background, and both cameras were at exactly the same angle, so there's no sort of, you know, wide angle tilting shenanigans going on. So quite why the XE1 looks more zoomed in than the XT4, I have no idea. Looking at the images and then processing them, the XT4 is streets ahead in terms of shadow recovery and dynamic range. As soon as you start pushing the XE1 image, you start to get a lot of noise. And I'll pop up a processed image now from that Seaside shot. But it was, you know, it was a hard day to shoot. There was a lot of glare on the water. There was a lot to deal with, to be honest. Particularly the human side of things. But what I've done since, I've come home and I've taken a load of pictures in my back garden and of my wife and of Dexter with the camera, and I'll pop those up at the end and yeah, have a look at those. I'm not going to say that it has a particular look, because it's a digital camera and, you know, you're shooting raw images, then I don't know, they all look pretty well the same to me, other than when you come to, you know, push or pull them in processing, when the real kind of quality shows out. But perhaps I need to take some JPEG images with the XE1 then, and not process them. Use one of the film simulations in camera and look at that. So what I'm really looking forward to doing now is using my XE1 alongside my Ricoh GRD and getting out and doing some street type photography, if you like. I think that might be a better comparison for it, because I don't think really it's a landscape camera. Now I know I'm spoilt. I've got a GFX 50R, and to be honest, even using my XT4 after, you know, using the GFX feels a bit of a come down. And the XT4 is a more than capable landscape camera. But you know, the GFX 50R, it is special. You know, I know a lot of people said it, and I know a lot of people said that the first generation X-Trans sensor is special, and yes, it may well be. But I don't think it's, you know, not for the type of landscape shooting I do then, where you've got a lot of dynamic range in a shot. I think for portraits it would be quite nice, because it renders skin tones really nicely. And, you know, for sort of general knocking about photography, the images do look nice, I will give it that. The colours are nice, the contrast is nice, it does, you know, it does produce a nice image. But would I choose it over my XT4 to shoot? Probably not, probably not. If it was the only camera I'd had, I'd be more than happy with it. Don't get me wrong, I would be absolutely chuffed with it. It is a fantastic little camera. But I think it's more at home with a small lens on the front, and, you know, put in something like the, oh, my arm's been really badly. I had to have I'm going off topic here. I had a vitamin B12 injection about 2 weeks ago in this arm, and it's a horrible injection. The needle is like about that long, and they go right into your muscle, and it's been fine. But now I can't stretch my arm. If I stretch my arm, it feels like somebody is actually pulling my skin off. So, oh, there we go. Anyway, see the sacrifices I make for this channel, the pain I go through, and then 7 people watch. It's more at home with a little lens like this on the front, and I think even more so with something like the 27mm pancake lens. And I am going to be on the lookout for a decent second-hand version of one of those, but I want one with the aperture ring on it, not without. So it's the second generation one, and the prices of those are still quite high. Alternatives would be, I guess, something from like TT Artisans or 7 Artisans. See if they've got something in there like the pancake, or a small little 23mm perhaps. But what I'm going to do with this next is, having said that, put the 16mm f1.4 back on it and go and shoot it head to head with my Ricoh GRD. because I think that might be a better comparison. They're both old cameras, and yeah, I think that might be a better comparison than pitting it head to head with something that's much more modern and much more up to the task of modern day photography. Right. Oh. As I said at the start of this video, we're going to take a short break. We will be back on the 30th of October with our Halloween special, From the Camera Bag to the Grave. In the meantime, I've been making some calendars up. I've got a couple of prototypes now of these. And yeah, if you are interested, go and watch the video I put out on Tuesday, or email me at the address below this video or below Tuesday's video. Right, Pendo. Have a nice October, and Dexter and I will see you at the end of the month. Stay well, stay safe, look after yourselves, and we'll all be back together on the 30th of October. God willing. Right. See you all then. Bye-bye.
If the sun should tumble from the sky, if the sea should suddenly run dry, if you love me, really love me, let it happen. I don't care. If a dream I dreamed should fall apart, I could still keep smiling with my heart. If you love me, really love me, let it happen, darling. I don't care. I could catch a shooting star, I could bring it where you are, if you'll only say